Hi everyone, welcome to Safe Space. This is officially our second episode and I'm here with
Usay.
And my name is Jaren, and today we will be discussing
So our two topics are love versus fear, and the second one is what happiness means to us. And we felt like these two topics go well together, so we wanted to bring them, kind of like combine them together in this second episode. And I think we can get started. So let's go to the actual conversation. Okay. So our first topic, which is love versus fear. This was a topic that we were talking about the other day. And I think we were in the car actually, and we started talking about I remember saying that where love exists, fear can't. Where fear exists, love can't. So that's what I remember, but I think I don't remember how we got to that topic.
I can start it off if you want.
Sure.
Okay. So the main reason we were actually talking about this is because we were on the topic of relationships, and we were kind of talking about how for us it's always been hard to open up to other people, and because there's this certain level of fear that like just overcomes us, and then we end up like leaving, or we end up ending it, or we end up because we're afraid to be vulnerable. And what I was telling her is that for me, I now have a boyfriend, but for me, the moment I realized that I wanted to stay and I wanted to be okay with being vulnerable and I wanted to work towards that was like where there was just this moment in my head where it clicked for me that, you know, I was like actually falling in love, and I was just like, it's worth to go through the fear to have love. And like I was telling her that
go through the pain. I think that's exactly.
I said go through the pain.
You said go through the pain.
Yeah. To have possibly something good. And you know, it's not something that just happens with everybody, and that's what we were talking about, like, you know, knowing when it's the right person, because when it's the right person, you're able to do that, you know. And that's when she said that, like, you're right, because I was actually, you know, reading something, or I was watching a video and like whatever, and where there is love, fear cannot exist. That's exactly what you said.
And I think I've seen it in multiple places, not just in a book, but I think I've definitely read it in a book before, and I've definitely seen videos on people certain podcasts and certain YouTubers where they talk about relationships, specifically partnerships, and they will mention that, like, especially also in spirituality, like I feel like a lot of people talk about that stuff too. Because emotions carry some type of energy. Like, love is a higher vibrational energy than fear is. Fear is a very low vibrational energy, and it's considered like a very negative energy. Yeah. That's why it's at the bottom. And that doesn't mean it's like worse or better or worse than other emotions, but it's just
frequency.
Yeah, it's just on the lower side. And then love is higher, because love is, if you think about it, when there is love, when there is like affection towards someone, you really don't think about how you're gonna act around someone, or whether you don't question whether that person, like, you may question it because of the fear, but when there is love there, you don't really question.
That's true.
Like when there's enough love, the fear is overpowered by love. Like, I guess that's what you were trying to explain as well.
No, I actually, the way you worded it is perfect, because I feel like I've never like vocalized that. I mean, verbalized. Sorry.
Verbalized. I mean, yeah.
But both work kind of. I've never like actually verbalized that, but like when you said that, I was like thinking about it, and it's true. Like when you are surrounded by love, you don't necessarily, I guess it depends, but like when you're with people you love, who like you genuinely, and there's unconditional love, you're not thinking about the negatives, or you're not thinking about the bad things or the whatever, because, you know, love is overpowering.
Yeah.
And like I feel like, you know, it's said so often that like love can, you know, conquer anything, that it has become like cliche, but I feel like it's true. Like where there is love,
Yeah. And that was something that I noticed, especially with the relationships around me. Like, I obviously am not in a relationship right now, but that is something I noticed with people who actually do care about each other and love each other. That's something like that I notice, where there's love, there's also respect, there's also trust. I feel like when there's a lack of love, do you know how people say, like, oh, like, some people value trust over love, some people value respect over other things in their relationships, but I feel like for a relationship to really thrive, especially partnerships, there needs to be love too. Like,
well,
the thing is, you can respect, like, let's say, for example, you can trust and respect a coworker, but you may not love them. You know what I mean? Like, for there to be an actual relationship, a partnership, love is another factor that needs to be in there. That's an observation that I've had recently. So it's like, when there's love, if trust is broken or if there's disrespect, I feel like sometimes love can overpower and make you forgive that person.
That's why
what I was
certain
trying to
situations, like, you forgive maybe even when you shouldn't.
Right.
You know, but there is a point where it becomes bad too.
Right.
You know, it's not like you know what I mean. Like, there are situations where, it becomes toxic. Well, one of the things actually our dad used to say to us, like, when we were growing up was, like, you can't have, like, a relationship with just love. There has to be respect too. Like, he would say, like, you could respect and trust somebody and the love can grow. Right. But if you just have love and there's no trust or respect, then that's probably not going to end well. Because just, you know, if I were to love somebody, but they were constantly being disrespectful to me or breaking my trust, then I don't know how much I can forgive. Like, I might forgive them to move on, but I don't forgive them to let them back in and do the same things over and over again. You know?
I definitely can say that it's true, where there's trust and respect, love can grow. And I think that's actually the healthiest type of relationship, where over time that love is growing. It's like, you know how people say, like, it's a slow burn rather than a rapid fire. The thing is, when there's, like, just strong love but no respect and trust, it's like a rapid fire. It's like, it burns out quick. It's very strong. It's very, like, heated, right? But it's very passionate. But it dies out pretty quick too. Yeah. And there's no base and foundation to that.
Just like how you make fires.
Oh, yeah. And we're referring to...
Well, no, we were making a joke because... whenever we try to make fires, they die out so quickly because we don't put the right things into them. Just like any relationship, you have to put the right things into it to make it last.
Yeah, and you can't... Actually, that's interesting, because when we make bonfires outside, like, if I just pour the lighter fluid, I think that's what it is, right? Like, the lighter fluid onto the wood and then light it up, right? Like, if I put too much of it, it's gonna, like... It's gonna burn, but it's not really gonna start burning the wood. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a temporary.
Yeah, it's just like a quick fire, but it dies out, and it never starts the fire where it burns the wood.
It's just like if you were to have a wound and put a Band-Aid on it, like, you know. Yeah. It's gonna keep you have to make a permanent fix to it.
Right, and going back to, like, how, like, trust and respect can make love grow. I think even though I'm not in a relationship, I feel like I realize that within my relationships in my family and with my friends, that the slower any friendship or any relationship that develops for me is the ones that stay longer too. Yeah. Like, I guess that's also because there's a strong foundation from like the start, where you have a base. It's almost like building a bridge. Like, you have a strong base. If you just build a bridge with just random materials and put it in a random structure, like,
just to get it done fast.
Yeah, like, it's not gonna hold up. It's not gonna carry as many cars as you would think it would, or it's not gonna be withstanding the storms that come by. Like, that's actually interesting.
It's like the Three Little Pigs.
Right. That it is. It's like that story. That it's just, like, all very interesting, because I used to like disregard when my elders would tell me that when I was younger, when they would say like, take your time because things are should be meant to last. I don't know if that made sense, but
yeah, that did. I just had a little brain fart.
okay. So if things are really just very passionate from the start and there's really no strong base, where if you look at someone or if you're around someone all the time and you don't think you can respect that person, you don't think you can trust that person, there's really nothing to build on there. Mm-hmm. And that goes for any type of relationship,
yeah, not
really.
just like, at friendships and, every relationship, like even with family and stuff,
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so we had to cut the video before because we kind of just ran out of things to say, but we're just going to move on to our next topic, so...
Mm-hmm. So the next, I guess, topic / question would be, what does happiness mean to you, or mean to each of us, or, the audience, you as individuals as well? So you can comment below what happiness means to you as an individual. So,
do you want me to start, or do you want to?
I think you can get started if you have something. Yeah.
So I also was saying that because this was something that we were discussing the other night too, when we had a fire with one of our friends. And my response in the moment was like, happiness to me is making those who I love happy. Like, I was saying how I find enjoyment in making people smile. And, like, I don't remember what the other thing I was saying was, but just, like, to me, I think because of, like, my personality, I always am happy when I am able to make other people happy. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm always trying to, like, find, I guess that's kind of goes into, like, my career too, is like that's something I'm trying to decide right now. I told you guys I was going into college last episode, but I want to do something where I'm able to go into my job and then leave and be like, I know I helped this person today, right, or I eased something for them or whatever, and that's why I think psychology might be good, like if I go into that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, that's really, like, the main thing for me that I can think about on the spot. But, there's a lot of things that make me happy, but I think the things that make me truly happy is, like, that. Like,
Can I reword the question for you to expand on your thought?
Yeah, of course.
So, instead of saying, like, because the thing is, I think a lot of things can make a lot of people happy.
Yeah.
But the question is, like, let's say which is kind of a dark thought for some people, but you're in your deathbed, right? Mm-hmm. And you look back on your life and you remember the moments where you were most happy. What would you say those moments were? Like, where you felt happy, but also, like, you look back and you're like, that's your success
story.
That's
a defining moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think now that you're asking it that way, I do remember the other thing that I said.
Okay.
So the other thing that I said was, like, just being around the people I love. Like, right. Being in those moments, like, if I, like you said, it is kind of, like, sad to think about, but, like, I feel like if I were to think about anything when I'm, on my deathbed, I would just be thinking about everybody I love surrounding me. Like, maybe, like, this is exactly what I was saying. I was saying that, like, maybe we're at a dinner or we're at a lunch or something. I'm surrounded by every person that, I love, and I know they love me, and it's like this feeling of just pure happiness, and like, mm-hmm. everybody's laughing and smiling, and there's just, like, everything that's bad is just out the window. And I think that, like, that's what I want in my future too. Like, that's what even though, like, when we're growing up, we're like, oh, I want to make money, I want to do this, I want to whatever, but, like, those things may make you happy to a certain point, but to me, it's like, in the future, I want to be surrounded by the people I love. I want to avoid, bad things. I want to just be happy and enjoy life with the people I love.
Right. And I think I definitely kind of agreed to that. But I think there are other things that, like, I would look back on and would say, like, these are, like, happy, like, defining mm-hmm. moments for me. So for me, I would say, like, definitely being around people that I love and that love me, is very important to me. I think being around people that you love bring you joy. Like, it really does. It's almost like a joyful, blissful, like, type of moment.
I feel like each, like, thing brings you a different kind of happiness. You know what I mean? Like, there's, like, different, not necessarily levels, like, in the sense of, like, this one makes me happier, but just, like, different feelings, like, of happiness, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I know what you're about to say, but go on.
I think, like, even through the storms, even through conflict, even through arguments with people, like, I think everyone can say, like, they always want to feel like they're safe with that person or with that group of people, whether that's family or friends or whatever. Like, you should, like, the people that you are around should make you feel safe and secure, even when you're not at your best, even when you're in conflict with them, even when you're arguing with them. And that doesn't mean in an unhealthy way, but I think, to me, what brings me true happiness is knowing that, even, like, I think me and you have that, where we argue, but then we come back and apologize right away, and, like, we'll just work it out.
Like, I know that no matter how bad something is, like, we're gonna get through it. Like, that kind of thing.
Right.
That support, that, like, it's like, you know how Dad always says, like, it's important to save money because even if you're struggling, you know you have that in the background.
Yes.
That kind of thing. It's like our relationship, even if we're struggling and we're fighting and whatever, we always have that, like, comfort in the back knowing that, like, we will always work it out no matter how bad it is. But yeah, also another thing which I think that you will agree with that, like, you know, really makes me happy is, like, not even just with anybody else, you know, of course, like I said, that's one of, like, the biggest things, being able to be with the people I love, but there are these moments that I experience when I'm just by myself that, like, I don't experience when I'm with people either. Right. You know, that's Mr. Softy. I don't think you guys can hear it, but I want some. So the thing I was going to say was, like, you know, they say, like, you get this euphoric feeling, and, like, there are moments where I'm just in the car, windows down, wind blasting through my hair, music all the way up, and I'm just hands out the window driving, and I just feel so blissful and happy, and I feel, like, euphoric. Like, I feel, like, just in that moment, like, I feel like
at peace.
This is life. Like, this is what I'm meant to feel.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, even just when you're comforting yourself or feeling safe in your own presence.
Right.
You know?
And I think that was one of the things that I was going to mention as well.
Yeah, I knew it.
I am very, very connected within myself. And at times I don't feel that way, which I feel like is normal. But I think that for me, like, knowing that when I'm by myself, I can be at peace. And sometimes I think about when I get older, like, I truly sometimes just want to live on my own, like, by myself with like, a dog or some pets, you know.
Someone who can't talk.
Not necessarily, but I just feel like I'm someone who enjoys, like, someone's presence without needing to feel like I have to affirm them or feel like I have to be there to make sure they're okay all the time. Because maybe that's also because so far I haven't had, like, with friends or partnerships where, like, or relationships, I mean, I haven't had people in my life, like, a lot of people in my life, where I felt safety and security that no matter what happened, that they would be there. And I think I thrive off of that energy, so that's why I value the people in my life today. Even if it's just one person or two people or only a few people, I appreciate the people that I have, because I know that the moments that I have with those people that I love those moments are what I'm going to remember when I'm in my deathbed. When I look back, I'm not going to remember how much I worked, how much money I made, what I bought, like, anything like that. Like, and I've heard it
it's not about materialistic things.
Right, and I think as much as we think, like, we're a society that, like, values, you know,
and don't get me
luxurious
wrong, like,
items.
I enjoy the luxurious items, but they're not gonna be the things, like, I remember, like you said.
Yeah. They're definitely not going to fill the void of people that give you the security in your life. And I'm not saying you should depend on people to give you that, but everyone has to find those people that give you that safety and security. And I feel like we moved away from that as a society today.
I think the main thing, to me, that I think that people need to understand more is that I think, even I've seen in a lot of people around me, like even myself, you know, we try to find, like you were saying, like you feel like that, like the emptiness, you try to fill the emptiness, whatever. We try to find people to do that for us. We try to find people to fill our holes, but like, you know, they always say, like, in order to love somebody else, you have to love yourself first. And like, it, again, this is cliche too, but it's true. You know, it's like, if you want to build a strong connection and relationship with somebody, you have to have that strong relationship and connection with yourself first. Because true. There are certain things that you have to overcome on your own that you can't do with anybody else or have anybody else do for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, there's like a point, and like that's what I was saying, like, and like about like building on ourselves and whatever, like, you need to, and I did this myself, like with, we were talking about relationships, like I felt like the reason that I was able to open up to having a relationship was because I finally got to a point where I felt like that within myself, I was okay, I was good, I had myself, I loved myself, I felt full, I felt complete with just myself. Yeah, you know, and there are still moments that I don't feel like that, but I'm working towards it.
Right.
It's a work in progress.
Based on, like, obviously you're my younger sister, so based on like how your life has played out till now, like I feel like I've seen most of it, especially through middle school and high school. Mm-hmm. And I could say, like, when you did get into your relationship, like, it was at a time where you were more secure. I could definitely say that. And I honestly was going to expand on something that you said before, but I don't remember what you were saying. Was
it like at the beginning?
I think it was, you started talking, I think you were talking about the, like, filling that void with people. Like, you can't necessarily do that. I think I was going to expand on that.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with being materialistic, because the thing is, I feel like everyone's capable of addiction and everyone's capable of depending on other things and other people.
And addiction doesn't mean just drugs and alcohol, like to people
getting
too.
Through the day. Yeah. So what I was gonna say was that you can have an addiction towards someone or like with someone, like with each other, I mean. And that basically is codependency. And then you can also have an addiction with alcohol or drugs or any type of thing. Like, if anything that you take to extremes is basically an addiction, whether that's shopping,
even food.
Yeah.
And like
that's
stuff like
exactly,
that, like eating disorders and, you know.
Right. That's anything at the extreme level is what's considered addiction. And I think with people there, it's very, very easy to have that level of dependency where it is like an addiction, because sometimes people will say like love is like an addiction. I think they're talking about not necessarily true love, but really like that codependency type of love.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. To some extent, yes, but like no, because I've had conversations with people, you know, like my friends and people who have been through breakups after being in long relationships, and it's like once you have that feeling of love and then you lose it, you want it back, you know, whatever. And that's like, you know, love is addictive.
That's love, but also a little bit of attachment, because we're social creatures, like we are social animals,
I guess,
and we bond through attachment. Like we bond through like certain connections that we have with people, and that's called attachment. And at some point it's a little bit of both. I feel like it's love. Obviously that emotion is always there. We always have love towards something, even if it's not, that's no, let me just say that again.
So much.
Even if it's not with one person or with a certain thing, I feel like everyone has things that they love, right? So we are always feeling love, but for different things. But attachment, it can only happen, I feel like, with between people. Like, you can have an attachment to an item, but that item can't have an attachment to you. Does that make sense? Like, at some point, like, it's one, and that I feel like that's why a lot of people who stay in marriages for a long time, even if it's unhealthy, stay in it, not because there's love,
still love there,
but there's attachment. There's that long built attachment where you spent your whole life with, well, most of your life with this person, let's say like 20, 30 years, 40, I don't know, however long you were together with that person, but there's that level of attachment that's hard to break.
And you get so used to that person's presence in your life, and not just like, oh, physically, but like emotionally, mentally, and even like in the sense of simple things like them doing something for you, and you've gotten so used to it over the years that like when you think about it, even though it's unhealthy and you're unhappy, you're like possibly considering ending it, you're just like, yeah, well, if I end it, then this and this, and you start making excuses because that's where fear steps in,
right?
You know, and you fear like what life will be like if that person isn't in your life, even though it's unhealthy. And that's when it starts to become like toxic, because you're used to that person's presence and you don't want to let it go, but you're sacrificing parts of yourself for that person.
Yeah.
Just to have that feeling of love, even if it's not true.
Right.
Or real.
And as you were saying that, I was thinking about something else, like where you, like you said, you sacrifice some parts of yourself. I think that's something I've thought about recently, because there was some conflict that I had with like some people in my life within the last year, I would say, and it was really hard, really hard for me to forgive them. Like, it almost felt like I was sacrificing some parts of myself, but then I realized there was a point where I realized I was building this resentment and hatred towards like certain people in my life, and honestly, it didn't feel like they were being affected by that
Okay guys, sorry, our camera actually died, but we're just going to continue right where we were, so go ahead.
Yeah, I think the last thing that I was saying was
you were building this resentment.
Right. It felt like I was sacrificing certain parts of myself to forgive them, but I realized that resentment and hatred that was building up inside me was affecting me more than the people that hurt me.
Yeah.
Whether they were aware of their actions, I did confront those people, but the thing is, even if they weren't aware of their actions, when I confronted them, I think I had this expectation that they would apologize, and when they didn't, I'm not talking about specific people, like one or two people, but like just anybody that experienced this. I think when I confront people with something that they have done to hurt me, I have this expectation in my mind that they would apologize and that would be my closure. But sometimes there's really no closure, because that person, one, they might not think that they hurt you. Even if you do tell them, you make them aware of something that they've done to hurt you. Some people are just, they have either too much pride or ego, or maybe they're not at the level or ready to apologize, or maybe some people like take time to process and come back to a situation. Everybody is different, but basically, let me just finish this thing that I was saying, but eventually, like in the end, forgiveness is not about sacrificing. I think forgiveness is more about yourself than anyone else. And if you're building that resentment, you're hurting yourself more than anyone else. And like, for honestly, like, I'm talking to the audience at this point, but I feel like if there's anyone that feels like they've been hurt and they can't like forgive the people that have hurt them, even if those people are not in your life, the best thing you can do is forgive, not for them, but for yourself, because that forgiveness is gonna help you heal and help you move forward and become a better person. Like, you, and I'm not just saying this, that this is an easy process. It may take years for you to forgive someone for something that they've done, but I would say, like, try your best to forgive, because that's definitely one of the first steps to start healing your your pain
Yeah.
that you have towards anybody.
Okay, so I actually had two things to say, and even though I was listening to you, half the time I was just trying not to forget what I was going to say, because that was a while ago. But one, I was going to say, you were saying about hate and resentment, and it's starting to build up. So I was going to say, like, that is when you, like you said, you start giving that person power over you.
Right.
If you, like, our dad, like, when we used to get, like, bullied in school, right, or, like, whatever, Dad would always just be like, ignore them, because that's what's gonna make them more mad, because you're not letting them affect you the way that they want to.
Right. You don't take on their negativity.
Yeah. So, like, when you start to, let their words affect you or let their actions affect you, is when you're actually giving them power over you. And then the second thing I was going to say was, this was something we were also talking about the other night, but on the topic of forgiveness, is I was just saying that I think the people who are able to forgive are a lot stronger than those who, like, hold their resentments. If you are somebody who is hanging on to a topic and just still being angry about it and still being whatever, you're letting it affect you more than anybody else. You know what I mean? So that's why I said that. I was like, if you have been, done wrong in some way, and you are able to sit and forgive that person, not for them, but for yourself, then I think that you are a lot stronger than you think you are, because forgiveness is not always something that is so easy. There are times in our lives where we're met with, things that are very hard and for us and people around us and this and that, but, like, when you are being resentful and hateful, again, I'm just constantly repeating myself, but that's when you're giving them the power. So the best thing that you could do for yourself is to find the strength within yourself to forgive. Because, like you said, that's when you really start to heal. And that's when you start to feel whole. And you fill those holes within yourself with your love.
Yeah. And I think the first topic that we talked about with fear versus love, and now with forgiveness,
it kind of ties into
kind of
each other.
Similar, like when you forgive, I feel like what I see with my process of forgiveness is, when I forgive someone, all I'm doing is putting love out there. That doesn't mean love towards that person that hurt me, but it really comes down to it, like it's. And another way to say it would be compassion. Like, you're putting out there some type of positive energy, positive emotion.
It's like karma.
Yeah, and it, like, you are taking charge of your own mind and your own thoughts, your own emotions. So I think one of the most important things in life is to learn to be emotionally intelligent. And what I mean by that is learning to regulate your emotions on your own. And you were saying that right just before. And it doesn't mean you never ask help from people when you're struggling, when you're at your lowest, when you're, in pain.
Even therapists need therapists, and most of them do see them.
That's very true. Yeah. And it all comes down to that we're all human, really. Like, we all have emotions. We all have dark times. We all have times where we're really joyful and happy and surrounded by people we love. But if you look at it, all of that, I feel like that's what comes down to, like, that's life. Like, at the end of it, you're gonna remember, like, coming back to the topic of what happiness means to me, and I'll kind of expand on other things that make me happy. Like, when you look back, you're gonna remember the conflicts, you're gonna remember all that pain, but it's just gonna be like a distant memory, right? And you're gonna remember that love that conquered all of the conflicts.
Even now, like, when I look back and think, like, obviously if there are, like, moments that stand out that are sad, probably because they affected me. When I look back, like, I mainly remember, like, happy moments.
Right.
Cute little things that, like, whatever, like, from when we were younger and, like, us playing together or this and that. I don't remember getting pushed down to the ground. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like being...
Like, yeah. And
Yeah.
there are obviously things that are going to stand out that are sad, too, but,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's just a part of it.
I think... I'm just trying to think, like, what other things make me happy.
Mosquito bite is so itchy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think other things that truly make me joyful and happy is, like, when I think I discovered this a few years ago, when I am super, like, connected to myself, like, through meditation or other spiritual practices that I do now. Just honestly, it doesn't even have to be spiritual, like, practices. Like, it can be as simple as journaling or just putting on music and
That's definitely
dancing.
me. That's my therapy.
Yeah, journaling is helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And
And the music, too.
yeah, music. I think just having that strong connection within myself, feeling, like, grounded, like that energy of knowing that I can just be who I am, and regardless of what anybody says, that I'm not gonna judge myself. I think that's what brings me joy and, like, peace, for sure.
I feel like I judge myself sometimes too, though.
I think everybody does, and I think it's like, the thing is,
I feel like most of the time it's me in my head judging myself rather than other people. Like, you know how when I used to, like, you know, care about a lot about, like, my appearance and whatever, and I still kind of do, but, like, you know, working on it. You used to tell me, like I'd always be like, oh, do I look bad? Does this look bad? Do I look, like, big? Like, whatever. You would always be like, baby girl, nobody is paying attention to you as much as, like, you think they are. And, like, there was a specific thing that you said, I can't remember what it was, but, like,
people are, I think this might be it. People are more focused on themselves, or so focused on themselves. Like, think about it. When you're out somewhere, what are you thinking about? How do I look? Are people thinking about how I look this way or that way? Other people are thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, nobody is... Oh, there are probably some people that, like, focus more on the outside than the inside, or, like, how they think or how they feel in the moment. But I think that's, like, fleeting, because not everyone's perfect and not everyone's gonna feel great every single day. But at the end of the day, when you go out anywhere, when you're in a public setting or when you're with a group of people, everybody is self-conscious of themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
nobody is thinking... I mean, of course, there are people that look at others and judge, and there are people who think negatively of others for whatever reason, but I think the important thing there is knowing that other people don't judge you as much as you judge yourself. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that society, as, like, everyone struggles with today. And it's kind of sad to look at it that way, but I think we all do. But I think what you were saying before, strength is when you forgive, right? It's almost like you have to forgive yourself too. Like, you have to forgive yourself for all the times that you were awkward and weird and made some mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's when you feel most grounded, that's when you feel most connected with yourself.
I think, like, that, honestly, like, that what you're saying was probably, like, my biggest turning point for me to, you know, be able to, like, love myself. Like, I feel like for so long, this is kind of going into a little bit of a different topic, but it's okay. But
It's okay.
For so long, like, I feel like like I said, was constantly criticizing myself, or just looking in the mirror and, like, you know, everybody does it, you know, you notice your flaws. So I think for so long I would just look in the mirror and, like, try to find everything that's wrong, but, like, I just realized that, like, I'm just, you know, my mental state is affected by how I talk to myself. Like, if just like anybody else, like, if they were to make those comments that I'm making to myself, I would be crushed. And I'm like, so why am I treating myself like that? Like, I remember there was this episode of the show that I was watching, or no, it might not have been a show. I don't know if shows are that deep anymore, but it might have been like somebody talking or something, and they were like, you know, what do you think about yourself, or what do you say to yourself, right? And then the person said like these things, and they were obviously more negative than positive. And then he was like, now imagine yourself, like yourself, 5-year-old self, standing across from you. Say that to her.
Right.
You can't, because why would you want to hurt a little girl's feelings? And then that's where like you come in with like the inner child thing.
Yeah.
It's like you have to treat yourself like the way you want, like the way you treat other people. Like I feel like sometimes I treat other people with more compassion than I do myself. Like I'm not as forgiving, and I'm not as whatever, and I have to take a step back and be like, why am I doing this to myself? Like I deserve to be to be giving myself the amount of love that I give out to everybody.
Yeah, and I think the key word there is deserve. I think that what it comes down to is a lot of people don't think that they deserve to be happy, don't think that they deserve respect, but it's like
certain things.
Until you realize that you deserve that, and you say to yourself like, I deserve to be happy, I deserve to feel joyful and safe and secure and whatever, you will not experience those things in life. Because first off, whatever you can't experience within yourself, it's so hard to it's so hard to receive from others as well. What you can't give to yourself, you also can't receive, because it's almost like if you're not familiar with a specific emotion, it's really like for example, this is probably the best way to put it. If you've never eaten a specific type of food, and someone explains it to you, they're like, oh, this food tastes like this, it tastes really good, but you're like, I never had it, so I don't really know.
You might be able to understand it to a certain point, but you're not going to like actually be able to, you know what it is.
Until
and
you
I think
experience
that was actually a really good analogy, because
so yeah, that's the same thing with emotions and what people can give you. Like if you have never experienced that within yourself, let's say compassion, it's gonna be hard for you to receive compassion from others.
And part of it, I mean, it does play into like how you were brought up too. If you had those things growing up, if you saw those things from the people around you.
Right.
You know, we start learning a lot younger than we think we do. You know, it's not like you're not learning about, you know, history and the War of 1812 or whatever. Right. But, you know, you start picking up on those things, and if you are growing up with not those things, I'm sorry, I'm like tripping up, but sorry. If you don't grow up with those things around you, then you also don't know what it's like. So it's like, it's also hard teaching yourself for those people who've never seen it either. Right. You know, so it's like, it does play into that, but for those people, like, it's harder, you know, and I guess, I mean, you do have to start learning somewhere, but you just have to decide, like, when. You have to get up and be like, I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of, you know, whatever.
There should be a breaking point. I think that's when I have most of my breakthroughs. When I am having my breakdowns, like I'll break down and I'll get to a point where I'm like, I'm sick of the way that I feel, or I'm tired of feeling this way. Yeah. That feeling of negativity that I give myself, or that other people give me, that I like take and don't say anything about. There will be a moment where I'll be like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of letting people do this to me. I'm tired of letting myself do this to me. Like, I'm tired of feeling a specific way, and that's when you get up, and that's when you start to find your own power, and that's when you start to get strong. And I feel like that's how people have success stories, and I think you're going to have something to say about that.
No, I'm just laughing because every time I cry, like, there's only like a few people that I like actually break down cry in front of, but like she's one of them, obviously. So every time I'm crying, she always laughs at me because like I'll be crying like really, really hard and like sobbing for like 5 minutes, and then like after the 5 minutes is up, I'm just like, okay, I'm done. And then she starts laughing at me because she's like, you were literally crying 2 seconds ago, and I'm just like, I feel like I always do that. Like I'll like hold it in for like 6 months, have a breakdown for 5 minutes, and then be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like you have that moment after every like breakdown. You're like, okay, I'm still like good. I'm still good though. Like, you know, you'll start hyping yourself up, and it's like funny. But I feel like for my breakdowns, I don't necessarily think. I feel like I hold them in. It feels like I don't hold them in as long, but I feel like there are certain emotions that I hold in longer than 6 months or even more than a year.
Yeah, of course.
And then in the most unexpected time, it'll just break me. Like, it'll be like one thing that someone says or something that I see.
It's always how it is. I feel like I have like these bigger things that I'm holding in, like that maybe hurt me more, that I just like don't know how to vocalize. Because like as much as like I love communicating and whatever, you know, I'm not the best at it either, and I'm not great always with confrontation either. So it's like I don't know how to confront people, or I don't like know how to react, or I might get defensive or whatever. But at least I'm aware of it, you know. Mm-hmm. But for that, oh my God, blank. What were we saying?
I forgot.
Oh God.
Okay, maybe I can cut this part out.
No, it's okay. We don't need to. Anyways, what I was saying was, okay, maybe we might need to. No, hold on. I'm gonna.
You're not very good with confrontation. You don't always verbalize.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Got it. So like, you know, there might be these bigger things that I'm holding in for that reason, because I don't know how to do those things, and then like something very, very, very little will happen. Like it might just be like, I asked them to give me my water, instead of giving it to me, they put it on the table, and it just triggered me, and I like be so mad or whatever, but it's not obviously because of that little thing. And I do find myself getting angry more often in those situations than the bigger ones, because I feel like there's like this crisis mode I enter when like something bad is happening, and I just like not on the outside shut down, but I like shut down my emotions and my like, you know, whatever. So I'm just like, it's okay, we'll handle it when we're alone, like talking to myself.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's true. That's how I am.
I think a lot of people like detach, but I was actually reading something about like disassociation earlier, or like detaching, and it's like this coping mechanism that we all learn, I feel like, when we're faced with really painful emotions at a young age. But some, like, a part of it is good, but I feel like another part of it is like if you do that, but then you never go back and face those emotions and try to talk through them, it's bad. Mm-hmm. The thing is, like, in the moment, sometimes you need to, because one, you may have a really, like, aggressive, I guess,
reaction.
Yeah, that's the right word that I was looking for. You might have an aggressive reaction, or you might say something in that moment that you would normally not say, and sometimes it's okay to just detach. Mm-hmm. Whatever's happening in that moment.
Well, I feel like for me, I've always, when I was younger, like when we were, you know, we always used to like argue because I was this attitudey little girl and sassy too, and I would always just react like in those moments, and you know that probably personally. But so I feel like as I grew up and I like matured, you know, I kind of got to this point where I feel like I find myself doing it more, but I'm just like, when something happens that's upsetting, or like, you know, something is like making me angry or whatever, I'll just kind of like take a step back, because I know like I'm the kind of person that might react and say something like that is not very nice. Hurtful. Yeah, and I like, you know, I am like that, and that's why I, you know, just detach myself, and I'm just like, let me take a second. And okay, sorry guys, Dad just came home, so we had to cut the video. But what I was saying was I talking?
I think you were saying something. Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
I don't remember either. You can just go.
I think we were talking about detachment, but
I was just saying, like, I think as I've like matured, I've obviously like had this like new thing that I do where like in a moment where something is upsetting me, like, or like even when we're arguing, remember, like I'm always just like, Busabla, please, like I'm like, it's funny, that's what I call her, but I'll just be like, please, like I'm like, just stop talking, you know, because I'm like, if you keep talking, I'm going to react and it's not going to be nice.
And
like
I
I'm
think,
like, just give me a second, and I'm like, can we talk in a couple hours where I'm in a better headspace?
right, and I think that's one of the reasons that we get along, because I know, like, I'm not a reactionary person. Like, I don't react until I'm at that, like, it takes a lot for me to react, like, where I'm yelling and saying something hurtful. Like, it doesn't happen. And if I do, it might just be in the moment, but I never, like, keep that going. I'll always go back and apologize. But the thing is, I think that's what makes us close, because we are able to, like, kind of balance each other out. And I think that was something that I learned from you, like, to be like, listen, like, let's come back to this, because in that moment, I know it's not going to get resolved right then and there.
Yeah, and for me personally, I feel like when I'm, like, approached, like, usually you prepare me now, like, when you want to talk to me, like, you're like, okay, Jen, like, let's talk later, like, whatever, you know, so I'm prepared. But I feel like when I am approached unexpectedly, and you start, like, being like, well, you were doing this, and it was bothering me, and you did this, and it was wrong, and I'm gonna get defensive. Because in that moment, I'm not prepared for it, and, like, you're just, like, boom, in my face, and I'm just gonna be like, you know, this and that, and you get defensive, like, you almost start getting angry, you know. But that's why I always, like, try to just be like, okay, like, I'm just like, okay, like, can we, I'm like, I don't feel like I'm up to talk right now. Like, I'm like, can we just talk in a couple hours? Because, like, I don't think that anything I say is going to be good, you know, and it's not me trying to, like, avoid it necessarily, but I'm just, like, I know myself, and I know that's how I am. So I'm just going to take a step back.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's probably the healthiest way to approach it. But, I think we can wrap it up at this point.
Yeah.
So, because it's been a long video, we're gonna have to cut and combine all these little videos. But so we'll finish it up here. I know we talked about a lot of different things at this time, but if you have any suggestions, or if you have any comments or feedback, you can always comment them down below. And if you have any topics that you want us to talk about, you can also let us know. And I'll definitely find other topics. We'll both come up with topics for next time. So so
this is it. Well, thank you for watching our video, and see you on the next one.
Thank you. Bye. Good. Can I have some of your blanket? I'm cold too, girl.
Whatever.
It's like the home series, you know?
Yeah, well, you always look nice. This is not no home series. Nobody dresses like that.
Well, I just wanted to... I was gonna wear this today anyway, so...
Whatever. Hi, welcome to our official second video on Safe Space.
Okay, something like that, but not that.
You're so rude.
Here, my co-host here is Jaren, my sister, or you can say your name. Jaren.
That's how I said it. I was like, hi, my name is Jaren. It's not crooked. You're sitting crooked. First of all, because look at me, I'm straight. You're like...
Because I want to turn towards
like
you.
this.
I'm not having a conversation with the camera.
You're like this.
I'm having a conversation with...
Well, actually, we are having a conversation with people.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to a second... Okay. Do you want to do the whole intro?
And then I'll
Narcissist.
First off, this is my podcast.
Oh, really? That's how we're playing. You want me to walk out? Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna be like, hi, my name is Jaren.
Okay.
That's it? That's all I'm saying?
Do you want to... Well, do you have a script that you...
I gave you your whole script, so... Like, second official video, and then you'll be like, my name is Buse, and then just be like, and I'm here with...
Instead of saying second official video, can you say, like, This is our second episode, not video. Thank you.
Okay.